Welcome to the Haven Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders, owners, and professionals are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Hear from industry experts on everything from marketing, leadership, financing, and more. Brought to you by Haven, a co-working space where you can connect, create, and get stuff done.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Haven Hubcast. I'm Nancy Sheed, your host, and I am very excited to be talking all things AI with Danica Tarin. Danica, welcome.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak here.
Danica is the founder and CEO of NeoLumen. She's actually known as a top AI voice on LinkedIn. She's got 20 years of experience with an MIT and an NYU education. And she is working with organizations and individuals to leverage AI in strategic growth and operational efficiency. That is a lot and sounds very exciting. And for most of us, Danica, we're still figuring out what all that means, right?
I'm still trying to figure out what all that means because the world is really moving very fast in the field of AI right now.
But let's go back for a second before we get into sort of what you're doing right this minute. Let's go back. We've got MIT and NYU experience. Was AI a thing when you were studying or when you sort of launched into your career and your business? How has your path brought you here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I've always been very analytically minded. I went to MIT for that. I have my degree in economics and finance, a Bachelor of Science. And then when I came out of MIT, my first job was actually coding the tax return for the IRS. I got a lot of because can you imagine the satisfaction you get when you hold up the tax returns like, yep, I did it. I know every single field on here, and I personally contributed to the calculation of those fields. So I've always been very quantitative and analytical. And at some point, I got a job at a financial services company. Part of my role was to guide the data science team to come up with segmentation and cross-sell and upsell strategies for the products, the financial products that I was responsible for. So that was really my first experience with data science and AI. And I really love it. I love the quantitative aspect of it. And I also love the creativity side of it because it's not just about the algorithms telling you to do something. You still have to interpret it. You still have to test it and come up with the strategy to implement. And sitting in between the data scientists and also the people who own the P&L, you really get to learn a lot. And since then, I've been really single focused on crafting and building my career in that path because I'm so passionate about AI and I definitely want to continue down this path.
And you're almost acting as you describe that as the translator, right? Like in terms of P&L, this is what we want to get to. This is what we're trying to achieve. And then you've got the input over here or the possible output over here to get the P&L. And you're in that special space of, as you said, quantitative, but also creatively thinking about how we make the most of over here to get what is wanted in the P&L world.
Yeah. And I think that's a really critical need because what I found over the years is a lot of the talent in AI or data scientists, they're really passionate about the algorithms and how to squeeze an additional X percent points of accuracy out of the algorithm. And that's fantastic. That's fascinating. And then there are P&L owners who are really passionate, obviously, about building and growing the business or make the business operations more efficient. Not a lot of people are really interested in the middle piece of it. I'm passionate about it because I think I learn a lot. I learn a lot from the technical side of why people think that way, what are the different methodologies, and also learn a lot from people who own the P&L and know how to grow the business.
And for those listening, Danica, can we just take a step back? Like we're just having this conversation literally with several people in the past 24 hours. AI, artificial intelligence, right? And you've thrown out the word algorithm and we've thrown out the word we haven't even talked about like predictive modeling, right? Like what is the biggest misconception either right now? You know, I feel like a lot of people think AI is this new thing, yet I know you've been working in it and with it for years and years and years. If you could just sort of lay a baseline of understanding, and I know it's not easy to simplify, but a lot of people don't necessarily understand AI conceptually, and they just think it's ChatGPT or it's a robot that's going to replace them, right? And then we talk about algorithms. How do you, and I know you do a bit of educating and training just to get people sort of up to speed. What's your premise for explaining like how AI works along with things that are, as you said, algorithms versus data science versus all of those? Is that too big of a question to ask you to kind of break down and sort of lay the playing field?
No. AI has been around probably since the 1950s and 1960s. And essentially what AI, artificial intelligence, the premise is really to help people to do things faster, code the machines to make things to go faster and mimic how human thinks. So some of the very basic examples I typically get is just imagine you're a robo-advisor online. It can just code some very simple if-then-else statement, right? If you're a conservative investor, will allocate 70% of your portfolio into bonds, 30% into stock. If you're if you listed yourself as an aggressive investor, will do the exact opposite. That's a very simple if-then-else statement. That's AI from the very beginning. The type of AI that I've spent most of my career in is in predictive analytics, where we start to give up control in the sense that I no longer needs to tell the computer algorithm to say if this, then that, because it's very limiting. It relies on my brain, right? I know what those different pathways may be, is then just tell the machine to learn from the data. I feed you a lot of data, figure out whatever patterns that you think should be best. And then we measure it on accuracy, predictability. So I think one of the most common misconception in my years of working with business owners and also P&L owners are that they sometimes think that is deterministic, right? I can absolutely tell you that this strategy is going to win or that strategy is going to lose. Unfortunately, AI is not that. It's just making probability. It's guessing a probability. I can tell you it's not 50-50. It will be better than 50-50. But even winning out on, if I can tell you something that's 70% right, it's better than you trying on your own. And we're always trying to increase our probability to be higher. So that's kind of what I've been most involved in. In terms of generative AI, which has been researched for much longer, but it's really just come into the public realm probably for the past couple years. I think what really resonates with people is really that it finally talked back to us. For the longest time, everyone who's been in AI who's been dealing with algorithm, we're literally looking at codes, right? SAS code or Python code. A lot of people just go right at that. They don't want to understand it. It's a big black box. Over the past year or two, all of a sudden AI, generative AI specifically, can talk back to us, can write text, can create images. And I think that's what really resonates with a lot of people. So I think to your point, a lot of people now, when they talk about AI, they think just generative AI, but in fact, generative AI is just a really small branch. I mean, it's a growing branch, but it's a subset of the broader AI discipline.
That is so helpful. And I thought I understood it, but you've made it even clearer. So thank you for doing that. And in terms, Danica, as you said, the generative piece, and it's kind of fun and everybody either goes in and plays with it or the world's holding their hands up saying, the robots are taking over. You've been in this space and I heard you say it before, like understanding how it can work for us versus being in fear of it taking over and only helping us do our jobs better. And as the other thing I appreciate you said was you still have to ask the creative questions. Like the output coming back out is only going to be as good as the prompts and the creative input that we're putting into that. Do people specialize in that? Are we in a learning phase, do you think, where all of that information, will that, I don't know the question, like everybody's kind of taking it on their own, but where is the opportunity to still have one's voice or one's opinion, or as you said, my brain, my smarts? In my world, that's in content creation, right? Like, I don't want to create a bot that talks in my voice, right? But inputting content that I've already written and helping it prompt articles with the way I think is very helpful. What are other ways you're advising people to kind of think about as you said, doing their job faster, but still having the control?
Yeah, I think from a technical perspective, you can certainly, like, if you have samples and your intellectual property, you can certainly upload it to these models through the knowledge base and further train it. to be more of your own, and then you can prompt it better because you're essentially training AI bot to know you a lot better. You can certainly do that. I think AI certainly help every one of us to do different tasks a lot faster. But it's also, I mean, the next step is not just about using ChatGPT better or using other AI tool better, but it's really about integrating. There's another, I guess, movement out there. Workflow automation is really about how to automate the different applications, the interactions among the different applications. So you can just give it a workflow and it will completely automate for you. That's the next step in terms of getting additional productivity benefit from whatever you're doing.
And that feels like a great kind of segue into the kind of the businesses that you're working with, right? Like, as opposed to having a review of all the current platforms that change every day that have AI integration in them, can you talk a little bit about more, as you said, about the different ways companies can use them, right? Like, so a business owner is coming to you and says, I've heard about AI, I've tried ChatGPT, I know there are ways in my business. They might even have general ideas, as you said, from is it workflow? Is it analysis? Is it sales and lead gen? How do you work with them, or how does it look when you're working with these small businesses? Let's say, I don't know, what kind of SaaS business is the best place for you right now?
The best place for me right now is a small to business size business, probably with an employee of about like maybe 11 to 50. I think they are big enough to probably need some external help to guide their decisions on how to incorporate AI into the business, but small enough that I think they're not really being taken care of by some of the bigger firms who are really looking.
Right. So enterprise is too big, but all the smaller platforms are potentially too small or not customized enough for them to be able to utilize it. Yeah. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly.
And so what does it look like? Is it they're literally handing the reins over to you and saying, here's our business, put AI in it? Or I would assume there's a bit of a give and take of you understanding their business, you understanding their strengths, and then you having the expertise of like, here's where I see opportunities. Can you give us some examples of that?
Yeah, sure. I think my typical approach is a lot more collaborative than like, hey, just tell me what you need. And I can certainly do that, but I don't advise anybody to go that route, right? Because I think a lot of people right now there's a Chinese object syndrome out there that people just want to implement something. And I absolutely advise against that. So typically what I do is I just want to find out, why do they want to do AI all of a sudden? Do they have specific pain points? Do they want to grow in certain areas? And depending on that, I can better gauge what kind of solutions may be useful for them. I also try to gauge their knowledge and their experience with AI, because one of the biggest misconceptions, in addition to the one that I just mentioned, which is people think that AI has the answer to everything. There's a training, it's a co-pilot, right? It has always been a co-pilot. Even the development of ChatGPT has been a co-pilot with human. So we can't get everything right from the beginning. It has to be a training process. So I want to make sure that the issue is big enough for them so that they understand that they need to invest in time and they need to invest resources in it to perfect it. So based on that, typically what my clients come to me for then is either a training because they want to get their staff up to speed on AI solutions, or an extension of that will be conducting a workshop. So typically in the morning, it'll be 3-4 hours of training targeted to whatever their pain points and challenges and opportunities are. And then the second half of the workshop is really focused on them. Now that everyone on the staff understand the opportunities and limitations of AI, we now then brainstorm on where are the biggest opportunities, because that business knowledge is critical. It's not something that, from my experience, I can bring in my perspective, right? But it has to come from within. And it has to be adopted by the staff, because if the staff is resistant to change to AI, it will never be successful. So we want to involve them early. So we usually do a workshop then in the afternoon where we go through the brainstorming, the prioritization, and that exercise. And at the end of that day, usually there will be a pretty good understanding of where, at least a list of opportunities, right, that we will prioritize. Then we go back and develop proposals if the client is interested in how to proceed with the implementation.
And then I'm going to take it the next step. So you've very cleverly got the collaborative, you've got the buy-in. In terms of next steps and implementation, are you going back to a drawing board and creating something? Does it depend on your knowledge of, okay, what's already out there that you could bring into them? again, I think for those people who are not actively using it in their business, we don't necessarily know what that looks like. And so can you talk through what that might look like or examples of work that you've done just to sort of, again, I think trying to bring all this to a touch it, feel it level versus getting it out of the cloud of theory is where we are right now.
Yeah, sure. So I think once we kind of identify the list of opportunities, then depending on that list of opportunities, we do recommend specific tools. So one of the clients that I'm talking with right now is very interested in using AI avatar to scale and scale their marketing operations or marketing effort so that the person doesn't need to be sitting in front of the cameras and record all the marketing materials at all the time. And you can make a long form content and then chunk it up, right, into different short form. From that perspective, I'm very familiar with the tool. I know how to use it. And I only recommend tools that I know is a market industry leader, will be around for some time so that there's no wasted effort later, hopefully, where like some of these smaller companies may go away. So in that specific instance, I do stay on and coach them and create the content and work with the clients end to end. There are also clients who are interested in more ambitious and more willing to invest and comfortable with the probabilistic outcome, right? Then we go into predictive modeling. In that case, then I know people who are in the field who've been working on these algorithms for some time. Then I essentially work with that team to launch these algorithms for the client.
I like that you've got the levels, right? Like you don't have to suddenly be investing hundreds of thousands of dollars. You could take some baby steps in what's already out there, but for the people who are ready, you can kind of jump the queue and get them into places where you already go there. That's really helpful. Danica, in terms of, it does feel like this has been really fast. It does feel like things are changing literally every week with this, that, and the other, and the impact just on the economy in general. Can I put you on the spot and say, where do you see us either 2 years or 5 years from now? Will it be a bit like the internet where we don't talk about the internet and it just becomes integrated? Or is this going to be a longer learning curve? What are you anticipating given what you're seeing now and where you've come from?
I think a lot of the people will be more comfortable in using AI, and a lot of business as well will be more comfortable in using AI incorporating into the business, because without that, it's hard to imagine how they compete with others who are able to use AI to speed up and scale their operations, because things are moving so fast. You can automate so many different things now. So I think people will be a lot more comfortable doing that. I think the journey to get there will be painful. I think some people
bumpy, turbulent.
Yeah, thank you. Words is not my strength. Numbers are. But yeah, exactly. It will be more bumpy. I think people will resist and there will be lawsuits of that sort, right? I'm hopeful that it will make the world a better place in the sense that a lot of the things that we are doing right now, maybe will be a lot more will be a lot more efficient in the future.
Well, I love that. I appreciate your sort of perspective from whence we've come to where we're going and making it sound possible and engaging and not overwhelming. And it's good to know that people like you are out there. I'm just, we're here on the Haven podcast, Hubcast. I'm curious about your Haven journey. Did Haven come to you because you're the AI expert? Did you learn about Haven in terms of, I know you've given workshops there and it's been a great base for you, obviously with businesses. Can you share a little bit about your Haven experience? Because that's obviously how I met you.
Yeah. I think I've actually heard of Haven even when I was working in the corporate world. I don't know how. I think it's just through word of mouth. I've always wanted to visit. I know that there's a powerful group of women working at Haven, but I never got a chance because when I was working full time, I was just way too busy with all the other stuff. Once I started my own company, I don't remember how I get into Haven, but I do remember the memories and the experience and how it makes me feel, right? I think it is a very warm community. I think there are a lot of women and men in the community who are really interested in lifting each other up. And that's what keeps me coming back every week to join different events and maybe go online and visit, and also have been able to build really good friendship and with different members in the Haven community. And that has been great.
Well, and just like you've done today, thank you so much for your time. I know you've been running workshops because there's a huge curiosity and wanting to understand. So I would say to listeners, please check out the Haven calendar because I know you're frequently on there sharing your expertise. And beyond Haven, Danica, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you or reach out to you if they want to learn more or talk to you about how AI might work in their business?
Yeah, they're welcome to either send me an email, just danica.tarin@neolumen.com, or just go to my website, click on contact, and then there's a contact form that you can fill out. I respond very quickly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This has been great. I feel like we could talk for several episodes and maybe we'll come back and have AI too, and in 6 months or a year. But thank you very much for your time. It's greatly appreciated. And I know the work you're doing is important, and it's hopefully ironing out some of the bumps for those of us who are curious but not yet there.
Thank you.
And that is another episode of the Haven Hubcast. If you like what you hear, please make sure you subscribe and give us a review.
Thanks for listening to the Haven Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders and owners are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Haven is a co-working space and virtual community located in the heart of Fairfield County, Connecticut. Haven is a hub for business owners and professionals to connect, create, and get stuff done. Find out more about the Haven community online at haven.com. That's HAYVN.com. Haven Hubcast is produced by Sound Advice Strategies.